Hello, I'm Dan Rather, and welcome to the CBS Evening News Online Edition. Just ahead, will or will not Iraq be ready for elections in just 2 months? In a rare interview, the U.S. ambassador gives you his prediction. Also, an ulcer drug to induce labor? You heard right, but is it safe? An important investigation you'll see and hear only on CBS. And America's wild horses. The vast herds are a brave symbol of our great West, but a new law could change all that. We'll give you details. It's all starting now on the CBS Evening News Online Edition. Difficult as it is to protect the American homeland, the U.S. military faces a far tougher security job in Iraq. The Pentagon confirmed today that November was as deadly a month as U.S. troops have faced in the war. At least 135 American soldiers and Marines were killed. The same number died last April. Also today, the U.S. Army's 3rd Infantry Division, as many as 15,000 troops who led the charge to Baghdad, began loading up to go back there. As CBS's Kimberly Dozier reports, they may be needed to allow Iraqi elections in January.
More roadside bombs hit U.S. targets, the high cost of a stepped-up campaign against militants. The coalition has just over 2 months to make Iraqis feel safe enough to vote. But insurgents are using violence and a boastful stream of videotaped propaganda of attacks on U.S. forces to make many Iraqis doubt the coalition's ability to protect them on polling day. Some believe just talking about elections can get them killed.
He might, attack me before I vote. Might be waiting for me after I go home.
In a rare interview, the U.S. ambassador to Iraq says much of the country is secure, and in 2 months it will be safer still.
Security conditions will be adequate for these elections to go forward.
He believes conditions are already right in all but 3 provinces, and even there he thinks the turnout may be surprising.
The Iraqi people do want to vote. There's a great deal of interest in voting, even in those provinces.
In Sunni areas like Tikrit, where Saddam loyalists are fighting elections, provincial governors and the local U.S. commander are trying to convince Sunnis to take a chance. The Shiites, who make up the majority of Iraq's population, have actually been ordered by their leaders to vote despite the dangers.
U.S. and Iraqi officials say it is a tough test for the Iraqi people. They can take the risk to go to the polls and choose a new government, or they can stay away and be governed by fear.
Maybe I will die when I vote.
You will do what you need to do to survive.
Yeah.
And that means not voting.
Yeah.
While some Iraqis see voting as a declaration of independence from terrorism, others have decided democracy is no good if you're not around to enjoy it. Kimberly Dozier, CBS News, Baghdad.
A health alert for mothers-to-be. It's about an ulcer drug that clearly states on the label that pregnant women should never take it. So why do some doctors give it to them to induce labor, especially when the result can be a lifetime of heartbreak? CBS's Sharon Alfonsi investigated for tonight's Eye on America.
You want to walk?
Kelsey Crotch struggles with the little things. At 4 years old, she can barely walk, talk, or sit up. But that's not the worst part.
We believe that what happened to our daughter could have been prevented had we been informed about the medication beforehand.
The medication is called Cytotec. The tiny pill has been hailed as one of the most popular and effective labor-inducing drugs ever. But what Kelsey's mother didn't know, and what most women are never told, is that Cytotec isn't approved by the FDA for labor induction. It's meant to treat ulcers. Even the drug's own manufacturer warns it should never be used on pregnant women.
What was your reaction when you saw that warning label?
I can look at it and say, hey, you're not supposed to use this on a pregnant woman. But apparently the doctor didn't care.
Dr. Marston Wagner says 1 in every 5 pregnant women will be induced, and Cytotec increases their risk of uterine rupture.
Think blown out tire. The uterus actually ruptures wide open during the labor, and when this happens, it's an obstetric catastrophe.
Dr. Wagner says some babies will die, others, like Kelsey, will suffer severe brain damage. Mark Mueller, the Crutz's attorney, says using Cytotec on pregnant women should be illegal.
We call it cytobomb because the effects on the uterus are like a small bomb going off.
But a leading obstetrics group disagrees. They've published their own guidelines supporting the use of Cytotec and say doctors who violate those procedures are the ones whose patients have problems.
If it's not FDA approved and the drug manufacturer says don't use it, why is it being used?
Well, the short answer to that is that it works, and it works better than the other available agents.
Ultimately, it's up to the doctor, not the FDA. Any doctor can use any drug on the market any way they see fit. It's called off-label use, and it's actually quite common.
Almost no drug used in obstetrics is labeled for use in obstetrics.
Dr. Lockwood says drug companies fear liability, so they often don't test on pregnant women. That keeps the cost of drugs down. The FDA-approved drugs for induction cost hundreds of dollars. Cytotec costs just 20 cents.
I think I'd have paid a whole lot more money for something else.
But the Krutzes say they were never given that choice. And now it's Kelsey who continues to pay. In Brady, Texas, I'm Sharon Alfonsi for Eye on America.
We close tonight with creatures of the wild in this country. Wild horses, mustangs, roaming the West. You and your children and your grandchildren may see a lot fewer of them in years to come. CBS's John Blackstone reports it's not an act of nature that could take them away, it's an act of Congress.
They now run free in only the most rugged and desolate parts of the West. Still, wild horses bring a sense of grandeur to the barren landscape and a lingering nostalgia for what the West once was. But now another disturbing image is presenting itself with the possibility wild horses could be sold for slaughter.
We've got a lot of horses. In fact, we've got too many of them.
Montana Senator Conrad Burns has removed 33 years of federal protection for wild horses with a provision tucked into the huge spending bill just approved by Congress.
Because we appropriate a lot of money for the maintenance of these herds, and so why not?
Come on, you guys.
But critics say Burns used the spending bill to avoid debate and opposition from horse lovers across the country. People like Maureen Pinto.
If we're supposed to be about freedom, the wild horse is the best symbol of freedom there is.
Well, many see wild horses as a symbol of Western freedom. 50 years ago, they were almost wiped out by those who saw them as little more than a pest and a nuisance.
Ranchers complain the 36,000 wild horses compete with cattle grazing on public land. The Bureau of Land Management rounds up 9,000 horses each year, but until now, they had to be held for adoption.
I know the cost of keeping in feedlots and small pastures out around the country is almost prohibitive.
Senator Burns says only animals that are at least 10 years old and have failed to be adopted will be eligible for slaughter. But that is no consolation to those who see every wild horse as an embodiment of the disappearing spirit of the West. John Blackstone, CBS News, Marin County, California.
More stories are just a click away. But be sure to join me on television for the on-air edition of the CBS Evening News. On Wednesday's broadcast, Eye on America. If you're short on time and need medical treatment, help is on the way. They're called Minute Clinics, and wait till you see where they're located. For CBSNews.com, I'm Dan Rather.